Hey everyone, this is David. Welcome back behind the velvet rope. Let's just get right into it today because we are joined by the one, the only Mr. Fraser Olender.
Thank you very much. What an announcement.
Well, I have to welcome you in style. This is behind the velvet rope, Fraser.
Of course. I feel great.
Where are you today? I mean, it looks like you're on a charter somewhere, right? It looks like you're on a boat.
I'm on a boat. I'm not on charter, thankfully. I'm in a shipyard in Genoa. My boat is getting a lot of work done. So yeah, I'm here and overseeing all of that.
Wow. So you just kind of like stay docked and live on the boat until you go out again.
Yeah, we're actually the boat's out of the water. We're on a dry dock, so we're getting so much of the exterior done as well as the interior. For the moment, we're just sort of hanging out, working 8 till 5, and enjoying being in Italy. Really.
I love it. Well, Below Deck, season 9, here we are.
Here we are.
Well, welcome.
Thank you so much.
Did you know? I mean, like you're in the yachting industry. Like, were you aware of this show like before joining? I mean, I know that sounds like a crazy question because I assume everyone's aware of it, but you never know. Like, did you watch the show? Were you aware of it?
Well, I wanted to get into yachting because I just wanted the lifestyle and I wanted to live abroad and I wanted to do something completely different to what I was doing in London. And then just before joining, someone had told me about the show and I thought, you know what, I know absolutely nothing about what I'm about to do. So let me try and jump in and get a good insight as to what I'm getting myself into. And lo and behold, now that I've both been in yachting and done the show, they are quite different things indeed. So it was good to get the lingo, but in terms of actually understanding what it's really about, no, I definitely was thrown in the deep end in real life there.
How did the show, like, how did the charters differ for you than in the real world?
My charters previous to the show had been a lot more tame and manageable. We also had the correct amount of crew to look after all departments and the guests. So we weren't running around like headless chickens, bitching about each other and wanting to kill each other. So yeah, it's a very different reality.
Some of these charter guests can get a little bit out of control, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Did you have, like, now that the season's over, like, did you have, like, what were some of the highlights for you?
Definitely some of the guests for sure. We did, we had some crazy ones and we had some really wonderful guys too, people that I'm still in touch with now. The crew were amazing and I'm very good friends with all of them now. So definitely meeting them, but also just to generally be a part of such an amazing production was so eye-opening. It was so impressive. And I wouldn't, exchange the experience with anything.
Do you feel like, what did you learn the most from this whole experience?
Probably that I should be a little quieter, and I should work on not speaking my mind as often as I do.
Well, the fact that you have these conversations with yourself and sometimes talk under your breath, I mean, that kind of is something that the audience is loving.
Well, do you know what's funny? Is obviously I didn't know I did that. And also when I was getting used to being on the boat, I didn't realize that if a cameraman wasn't around, that didn't mean that they were still listening to what I was saying or they could hear me. I just didn't put 2 and 2 together. And then you've got cameras set in every sort of cabin and room anyway. So you're always being watched, but you don't quite get the hang of it. So I would just be casually talking to myself as I usually would. Lo and behold, I see the first episode and I'm talking to myself in abundance, which is a little bit awkward to watch back, but also, again, people like that,
I think I like it. Do you have any regrets, like, from this whole season?
No, I think doing the show, I was prepared to give my all and be myself. And I did that, and I'm unapologetic about my behavior and what I did. I was put in very odd circumstances, and I think that anyone else going through the same would act in their own unique way. So I can't take anything back. But I did the best that I could do, and I was the nicest I could be.
Well, that's good to know. Out of the charter guests we've seen so far, like, who's been your favorite? Like, has anything shocked you by any of the charter guests that we've seen so far?
For sure. Episode, what is it, 3 with Justin's behavior, 3 or 4. It was mental. It's something I hadn't seen before and something I certainly wasn't comfortable with. It was entertaining though, and maybe it shouldn't have been because it got quite dark, but I was finding it funny. I really thought to myself, how on earth? And this was real. Just because this is a show does not mean that this was not in any way, shape or form real. Every single thing you saw happened, and it was as bad as it was showed on TV. So to be a part of it and almost to feel responsible for trying to rekindle or at least like taming things was very odd. I wouldn't ever really like to look after that sort of group ever again.
Was it scary? Because it seems scary, like watching it, you're just kind of like, this is cringy.
It got out of hand for sure. And it wasn't dwindling. It's kept just getting worse and worse and worse until, we were worried it was going to get violent, and Eddie stepped in and we were all there to kind of pipe it down and get everyone to bed. But yeah, it's never a nice sort of environment to be around, that sort of tension. No.
Yeah, I mean, watching it, you're kind of like, well, speaking of the crew, when you were on Watch What Happens Live and Andy asked you, what would you change about Heather? You replied that you would have her do some work.
Yeah,
talk to me about that.
A lot of people seem to think that I like to big myself up, but I also do that because I think it gives me confidence to work hard and it gives me motivation. I like to think that I'm good at my job, and clearly there is something was perfect and I do mess up here and there. But when it came to Heather, my initial issue with her was just her delivery and how she spoke to us. It was very much, it just wasn't nice. It was cold, and I'm a people person, so I really love connecting. And if I haven't got that connection and I'm just being told what to do and told that I'm shit every day, it's not nice. And so then I'm going to get a bit ditchy, obviously. But it was difficult for her. She's very good at her job, but it was difficult for her and all of us to join a boat with no previous understanding of where anything is or how each other sort of work. And we just got to jump in and set sail. So getting around that and coping with that was difficult, but I do think overall she's pretty fantastic at what she does.
And you said you keep in touch with everyone, so you keep in touch with Heather too.
I do, yeah.
You pause there for a minute.
I pause there because you'll see later on, the change of dynamics of friendships. Things do change, and I don't want to, spoil anything, but I do speak to Heather now, yes.
Well, other than Heather, who do you think could have improved the most in their work ethic? Obviously not you. You feel, you work very hard. So who do you think besides Heather?
No, definitely. I could definitely work myself. I'm not perfect at all. And I'm learning a lot. Every time I do a trip, I learn something different. Definitely myself. I can maybe pipe down a little bit, keep my mouth shut and get to work. Heather is great at what she does. She doesn't need to improve. I do look up to her. Jess, it was a different story for Jess because Jess didn't want to be there. And the show didn't really highlight that too much. And that's frustrating because she would tell me daily that she did not want to do the job, that she didn't enjoy yachting, that she'd rather be anywhere else. And that really bothered me because she wasn't helping. And Heather was doing her chief stuff, so she was busy doing whatever that was. And then I was just basically running the interior. At least that's how I felt. I'm not bigging myself. That's how I felt at the time. And Jess moping around, walking at 1 mile per hour was really, really tough to watch and be a part of. So Jess, I'm going to go with Jess. She could have done with improving her attitude, which consequently would have improved her work.
And I know that you love the yachting industry, so that's understandable. What about the opposite? Like, who are you just impressed with of like, wow, this person's so great at their job. They have such a great work ethic and they're just really good at what they do.